Welcome back everyone. In this video, we'll show you how to change a drum brake on the Apollo City. Now for this repair, you'll need an 18mm wrench, a Phillips head screwdriver, and a 4mm Allen key. So to start off, we're going to unscrew the knob right here to release the brake line. Just like this, we can put that to the side. We can now remove the brake line from its bracket and pull it out of the guide pin. We can now remove the spring and let it hang on the side. The next step will be to remove our guide pin, as we'll need it for the new drum brake. The next step will be to take our 4mm Allen key to remove our set screw. Just like this. We can now remove our lug nuts and pull the wheel out. We'll start on this side where we just have to remove the lug nut, then we'll flip over to the other side where we show you how to remove the power cable. Now when loosening the lug nut, we want to hold the fork to keep the scooter in place. Now we only have our lock ring in place, and we'll keep that there for now because we need to work on the other side. We're now going to take our Phillips head screwdriver and unscrew the power cable bracket. Just like this. We can now slide this down and pull our power cable out. The next step will be to remove the lug nut cover. Just like this. We can then take our 18mm wrench and loosen the lug nut. When doing this, we want to hold the wheel because the other side is already removed. For this side, we don't have to remove the lug nut completely, so we'll just unscrew it enough to remove the lock ring. That should do it. We can now remove our lock ring just like this and do the same thing on the other side while still holding the wheel to make sure it doesn't fall out. And just like that, we can pull our wheel out of the forks. Now the last thing we'll need to do is remove our lock ring and the washer right here. We can then pull our drum brake out and go get the new one. We can now take our new drum brake, place it on our wheel, and take the washer and put it on top, just like that. We can now reinsert our wheel onto the forks. Now this might get a little tight, so don't be afraid to use a little bit of force, just like so. We can now place our lock rings back in their spot, the backside one too, and screw the first lug nut just tight enough so the wheel doesn't fall out. That should do it. We can now plug our power cable back in. Make sure to align both arrows when doing so, just like that. We can now take our bracket and screw it back on to its proper place and screw it in. That should do it. The next step will be to take our guide pin and insert it into our new drum brake, just like that. We can then take our spring, insert it onto the brake cable, and put the brake line back into its bracket. We can then guide the brake cable through the pin, just like so. We can now take our knob and screw it on. We can always pull the drum brake to get enough spacing to screw the knob on. That should be good for now. We'll adjust it at the end once everything is tightened properly. The last step for the drum brake here is to align the hole with the fork right there. We can now take our set screw and torque it down. We'll take our 4mm Allen key to finish the job, and that should do it. As we can see, our drum brake does not move from its place. We can now take our lug nut, screw it back on. We can then take our 18mm wrench and tighten both sides. Now, just like before, keep a hand on the wheel or the fork just to keep the scooter stable. That should do it. Now let's do the same thing on the other side. And there we go. Now that our drum brake is fully reinstalled, we can put the cover back on our lug nut, just like so. We can now readjust our drum brake and we'll be good to go. Now to adjust the drum brake, we simply want to push the arm forward, just like this, so we can relieve the tension on the brake line to tighten the knob right here. Let's try this and go see if our brake is tight enough. As we can see, the brake is nice and tight now. Now to make sure your brakes are properly adjusted, when we press the brake handle down, we should have at least 1 finger worth of space between the grip and the brake handle. And that's how you change a drum brake on the Apollo City.